I thank the gentleman. I'll try to keep it short. We've got votes coming up. Look, I would only point out here, and there's been a lot of back and forth, and the gentleman from Maryland has talked about seeking truth. And at the core of this whole thing and everything we do is just like, who gets to decide what's true, and how much power does the government have to go police what's true and then do something about it? That's the question. And if people think Fox News or MSNBC or CNN or anybody else are engaged in misinformation, disinformation, whatever the word of the day is that no one even knows what the hell the difference is, and they start saying, oh, well, they're saying stuff's not true, and say, well, then turn the damn thing off and watch the one you want. Let the market sort it out. If somebody's saying stuff on Twitter. But when we've got things like, well, you know, we had the, where is this stuff here? We had situations where in July of 21, Biden accused social media companies of killing people for not stamping out, quote, misinformation surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. 4 hours later, Alex Berenson, an outspoken critic of the COVID-19 response, was kicked off Twitter. I'm not going to sit here and go through all sorts of things. I could sit here for a long time with long lists of these kinds of things. The concern about this entire subject is the government deciding what is true or not true and then acting on it. That is the concern. We can debate the merits of the law. My friend from Kentucky said it should go further. We should have different kinds of penalties. Maybe we should have some different language. I think there's some amendments we should consider, as he mentioned. All I just want to just say is that the reason we're here is because of that. And with that, I yield back for time's sake.
Gentleman yields back. The gentlelady from Indiana is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Armstrong, I just wanted to ask, given the testimony or comments you've heard, do you have anything else you want to add with respect to this bill?
Well, I would just add to what Representative Roy just said. There's more to it than that, because private social media companies take down constitutionally protected speech all the time, and every one of them has terms and services to do that. The problem is, and from when Mr. Raskin's talking about Hoover and the civil rights movement, if Twitter would have existed then, they would have done it then too. I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to the lack of censorship. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. I don't care who it is. But the problem you're running into is they're using, these people, all of these things are constitutionally protected from U.S. citizens. I mean, when we speak about the First Amendment, and I've heard it in, 25 different hearings since I've been in Congress, we fail to talk about the imminence requirement of lawless activity. There's an imminence requirement to lawless activity. Disinformation, misinformation, bigotry, all of those different things are already taken down under almost every single terms and service. That's okay. It should be. That's private sector. But when you're using government agents and government cooperation and government money, as Representative Massey pointed out, to enforce those terms and services, which are significantly more restrictive than the First Amendment, is where we end up having a problem. And just to be clear on the difference between Fox News and Twitter and Facebook and all of that, I'm going to boil it down real simple. It's Section 230. They're getting sued. They're in court right now. Whether you agree with the lawsuit, disagree with the lawsuit, think it's going to win, think it's not going to win, they are getting sued right now in court. We have created an entire federal regime to shield all of these companies from liability in these situations. And when you talk about whether somebody knows and they can sue the government, that's fine so far as it goes. But if a government agent is reaching out to a person who works at any social media company and quietly having them take something constitutionally protected speech down that may or may not be a violation of their own terms and services, and there's no liability to go after that company, how are you ever going to know if the government did it? How are you ever? The First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, equal opportunities, they're all messy. But if you take an oath to uphold the Constitution, you can't end run that Constitution by going to companies and asking them to take things down for their own terms and services. And that's what we're trying to stop. And I think Congressman Massey pointed out, there are a whole lot of stuff that was taken down at the beginning of COVID for a lot of different reasons that 3.5 years later, now we're looking at. And that's before you get into peer-reviewed studies and all of these other things. So, thank you.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Are there any other questions for our witnesses? Thank you for coming. Seeing none, thank you for coming today. The witnesses are excused.
Mr. Chair, I just want to ask unanimous consent to insert in the record a